you will think it's your fault. You will think that you're the one who failed. You will think that you didn't have enough willpower, or you weren't strong enough to maintain your diet. You were always set up to fail. Your diet failed you.
What aspects of Nutrivore are filling the gaps in today's wellness landscape?
So we're not taught very much about nutrition in school, right? Maybe get a 1 week unit as part of a health course in high school, right? That is kind of the extent of the nutrition knowledge that we're taught. So we have a sense of, maybe the USDA dietary guidelines for Americans, right? And very, at least based on what my kids went through in high school, an education that's very based on these foods are good and this is junk food that you shouldn't eat, right? So still being kind of taught a moralization of foods. And that lack of knowledge makes us very vulnerable to misinformation online, to diets teaching us incorrect things about foods, right? Typically incorrect fear about foods, right? So we're taught this food is inflammatory, this food is toxic, this food's going to make you gain weight. So we're kind of susceptible to all of the messages from diet culture, not just because we're sort of sold this way that we're supposed to look, and here's your miracle solution for looking this way because you'll have more value if you look this way, right? We're kind of sold the body judgment aspect of diets, but then that kind of just goes hand in hand with the food fear, right? Be terrified of these foods because if you are and you eat, these other good, more expensive foods, then you'll be able to achieve this higher value body. And so I think that because we are susceptible to the misinformation from both fronts, right? Both from this like inundated social programming that smaller bodies have higher value, rather than what the science is, which is that you can be healthy at any size, and that size is a pretty poor proxy for health. Like, it's more important to look at the quality of your eating patterns, how active you are, how stressed you are, how much sleep you get, right? To look at things that we can measure, right? Like your cholesterol and your blood pressure and your, fasting glucose, your hemoglobin A1C, right? There's far more important things that we could measure that would give us a sense of your health and your risk factors than putting a person on a scale, right? It's a very weak correlate, right? Certainly, there are times where body size can be a symptom of something else, right? That is going on, right? A sedentary lifestyle, a low quality diet, certainly, but not necessarily. And so what the science shows is that there's lots of people who are thin, who are unhealthy, and there's lots of people who are in bigger bodies who are very healthy. And that's not the message that we get from social programming, right? From social programming, we get smaller is better, which is just incorrect. But as somebody who struggled with my weight for most of my life, that made me very vulnerable to diet misinformation. So the thing that happens then, right, is the sales pitch. Cut out these 7 foods for 7 days to lose 7 pounds, right? It is sold to us around every corner, this restrictive mindset with food that it has this like, and then your life will be sunshine, unicorns, and rainbows, right? Like, it is sold to us this way. And here's the thing, you are set up to fail because restrictive diet. So when you think of your, how you're going to choose food in this restrictive way. So whether you're cutting out foods completely or you are obsessively measuring foods, psychology research shows that that increases food fixation, food obsession, cravings. It increases your susceptibility to emotional eating. It increases the likelihood of developing an eating disorder, and it drives what are technically called like weight cycling, right? Weight regain cycles. It's the yo-yo, right? It drives the yo-yo because you can only deal with increased food fixation obsessions and cravings for so long before you inevitably, as a human, can't do it anymore. And if you combine that psychology with the physiology of maybe this really restrictive diet was like a way too big caloric deficit, because that rapid, right, 10 pounds in the first week type sales pitch is so alluring. And typically that goes with something ridiculous, like, right, 1,200 calories, 900 calories. There are way too restrictive diets out there with these very compelling sales pitches. But what happens when you have a really big energy deficit? So your energy needs are here. That's how many, how much energy your body needs to be itself throughout the day, and you only give it this much energy. So two things happen. So one is your body goes, "Ooh, I got to conserve energy." And it does that in a couple of ways. So you can have both a drop in your basal metabolic rate. So that's how many calories you burn if you just laid in bed all day. But the even bigger adaptation is a reduction in something called non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So that is the calories that you burn doing things like fidgeting. You will actually fidget less if you're on a diet because your body is trying to conserve energy, which is kind of an impressive thing our bodies do, actually. That's a pretty cool little like self-defense mechanism, right? Not enough food, I got to conserve energy. But it's hard to be aware of it. It's hard to like understand that that's what's happening, right? This like slight decrease too in like motivation to do things, like maybe you won't feel motivated to mop the floor, right? Like just little things like that your body's just looking for ways to conserve energy. So basal metabolic rate drops, non-exercise activity thermogenesis drops, and then you have an increase in the hunger hormone ghrelin. And ghrelin will gradually go up. So you will feel less satiated after a meal and hungrier between meals. So we've got increased food obsession, right? Increased cravings, an increased susceptibility to emotional eating, and I'm hungrier and I'm tired. My body's trying to conserve energy. My basal metabolic rate has dropped. This diet is not working as well as it used to. Why not give in and eat the thing? And the entire diet and weight loss industry is founded on the idea that you will fail, and that because you have been sold this idea that it's willpower, discipline, right? That is the thing that achieves this higher value body. You will think it's your fault. You will think that you're the one who failed. You will think that you didn't have enough willpower, or you weren't strong enough to maintain your diet. You were always set up to fail. Your diet failed you. So what do we do about it? Nutrivore is the idea of getting all of the nutrients our bodies need from the foods we eat. It is somewhere between a diet and an anti-diet. So no more restriction, no more dieting. All foods are welcome, but we also want to understand how to improve diet quality, get all of those nutrients. What are the foods that we can add, or those simple swaps that help us get more nutrients from our food choice while respecting the importance of joy? I think joy should be an essential nutrient, the 50th. There's 49 essential nutrients. Joy could be number 50. Because also, why is there 49 essential nutrients? It would be so much easier if there was a round number. So let's call it joy. Because if you are not enjoying the foods you're eating, it doesn't matter how healthy that diet is, you're not going to stick to it. So Nutrivore is about understanding the relative proportion of what I call quality of life foods, right? The foods that make sure I'm getting enough joy from my diet, that I like it and I want to keep going. And then I'm also focusing on those more like nutrient focused foods so that I can meet my body's nutritional needs from the foods that I eat. And then I actually increase my ability to reach my health goals because I'm not doing that on again, off again diet roller coaster. And I am taking myself out of the customer pool of the diet and weight loss industry. So Nutrivore, in order to do that, in order to fight this multi-billion-dollar industry, I have to give you the information, the knowledge base you need to both feel comfortable expanding your diet, to understand what foods to eat, where I'm going to get that valuable nutrition, understand what nutrients do in the body, what types of foods have what types of nutrients, how am I going to meet my nutritional needs, where do my quality of life foods, my foods that give me joy, fit in. Ideally, all foods would give you joy, but we know the foods we're talking about, right? Like those extra, like the foods that maybe don't contribute very much to the mission of getting all of the nutrients our bodies need from the foods we eat, but like hit every button, right? My comfort foods, my go-to foods, we make room for those. And all of that is to serve the purpose of sustainable nutrition. So overall higher diet quality that's easy to sustain, right? That's maintainable for my entire life. So I can quit dieting, get off that diet roller coaster, but still improve my long-term health outcomes with an overall healthy eating pattern. So that knowledge base that I mean, I've amassed the majority of it. If you go to Nutrivore.com, you will find some extraordinarily detailed articles about every single thing that nutrients do in the body. The daily values section on Nutrivore was surprisingly challenging to put together. There's no other place on the internet that just has the daily values of all of the nutrients in one place for you. So all of that's there. Information about all of the different nutrients that foods have. Lots of like basic, right? Like the value of these types of foods, like breaking foods into, rather than just thinking of 4 or 5 food groups, like into more highly related food families that have more nutritional similarities. And so thinking about foods and that's interchangeable. That knowledge base, especially communicated to non-professionals, right? Communicated to just you. That did not exist on the internet before I started building Nutrivore.com. And so that is first of all the knowledge base that we need to be able to, finally move past the diet roller coaster. But also that is the service that Nutrivore is doing. So it's taking all of this information that is in nutritional sciences research papers, with a very high level, like focus on systematic reviews and meta-analyses, looking for scientific consensus. So where the strongest scientific evidence lies on what are the best food choices, looking for the context, the nuance, the flexibility, so that you can craft a personalized way of eating that's going to meet your nutritional needs, but caters to your food preferences, to your budget, to the time and energy you have to prepare foods. That knowledge base, I mean, one of the reasons why we're so susceptible to all of this misinformation about, diets online is because we don't have that knowledge. So that is what I'm putting together with my website, with my book, Nutrivore, which is more like bite-sized, pardon the pun. So getting at that information as efficiently as possible while giving you the full picture is in the book. And then the more academic articles to get really into the nitty-gritty is on my website. So that is the contribution of Nutrivore to the wellness community. It is the nutrition knowledge that if we had it, the diet and weight loss industry wouldn't exist. So let's do it. Let's make this knowledge accessible to every single person and put an end to diets where we're set up to fail. And instead, let's start building those successes.